Revere experienced a devastating fire on Taft Street. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but it left 18 people homeless, 6 families with children, and 7 houses were damaged or destroyed. The people of Revere came together, which I am so proud of, and helped and assist the fire victims. So many people and organizations came out to help these homeless families and fire victims. I would like to thank each and every one of them personally. Thank you to the Revere Fire Department, the Revere firefighters' wives, the Revere DPW, the Revere Police, MEMA, Elijah at the Neighborhood Developers Association, Pastor Tim, who opened his church, the First Congregational Church, to aid the fire victims that were standing on the sidewalk for 6 hours before Red Cross got there. Matt Philbin, who came to our rescue. He didn't want his name to be mentioned, but he opened the roadway in. For 6 hours, Joe Gravelisi and I tried to get shelter, but because Sail Boston was in town, we couldn't get hotels. So he came to the rescue. He gave us 3 rooms in this family for 3 days for nothing, and opened the roadway in for these families. This was Tuesday. Friday, Joe Masillo from the Speaker's office and I spent 4.5 hours looking for shelter for these families again for the weekend. And he opened his inn again. So I just want to thank him. If it wasn't for him, these people would be on the street. I'd like to thank CAPIC, Mass Housing and Shelter Alliance, Stephanie Santos of CAPIC, who stayed for 6 hours at the church and translated to these families what information they needed. Corey Abrams, MBHP, Metropolitan House Partnership, for kids only. Debbie Nealon opened, she said that she would open her place and put cots in her community room, which I thought was unbelievable. Conrad Sisson and Charles Levine, Division of Insurance, Makaya Thai Restaurant, Lewis, who donated Chinese food, Thai food, Danny Liberto, who always donates pastry, the Red Cross, the Salvation, and anybody I didn't mention, I'm sorry, but I did try to put a list together, and thank you for donating clothes. Thank you for donating food. Thank you to everybody that donated and I didn't mention. Thank you very much.
Joanne, good job. Good job. The approval of the journals in the regular meeting of May 22nd, 2017. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Motion.
The approval of the journals of the meeting of June 5th, 2017. Moved. All those in favor? All those opposed? So voted.
17-220, communication from Senator Joe Boncore. He was here to present a legislative briefing.
Yeah, so move
Mr.
on.
President,
Councilor?
Senator Boncore was unable to make it tonight and will be coming after the next legislative hearing.
Okay, thank you. 2017 200, 201, and 203, 204, 207, and 210. They're all by Councilor Rotondo. So what do you want to do with these? Leave them on the table? All right. Committee reports. The Ways and Means had the committee of the whole had a meeting today to address the revised ordinances of the city of Revere relative to purchasing. We addressed this at length 2 weeks ago and tonight. Anyone have any comments? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Roll call.
Ordered on the second reading. All those in favor? All those opposed? Ordered on the third and final reading. All those in favor? All those opposed? So voted. Roll call.
On engrossment and ordainment, shall the City Council approve the ordinance amendment repealing sections 3.04.100 to 3.04.120 of the Revere revised ordinances relative to purchasing? Councilor Giannino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito. Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance has been engrossed and ordained.
17149.
$17,149 is an ordinance relative to the establishment of the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund.
Have any questions? We've addressed this in the subcommittee this evening. Roll call. Order on the second reading. On the third reading. Roll call.
Roll call on engrossment and ordainment. Shall the City Council approve the ordinance amendment relative to the establishment of the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund? Councilor Giannino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance has been engrossed and ordained.
Now, can we take up 17,167, 68, 69, and 70, and 203 together?
Yes, that will be the...
Councilor Guanasso?
Mr. President, earlier this afternoon, the Appointments Subcommittee met, and before us, we had the following: appointment of Mercurio Brothers as a drain layer. Next was the appointment of Marchese and Son as a drain layer. And then there was the appointment of Arm as a drain layer. Then the appointment of Sasso and Sons as a drain layer. And finally, the appointment of Matthew McGrath to the Board of Assessors. If there are no objections, Mr. President, I suggest that we take these all at once. They were voted out favorably by the subcommittee, and I ask that we do the same this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
A roll call vote on the committee report of Councilor Arthur Guanasso.
Shall the City Council approve the Appointment Subcommittee report of Councilor Guanasso? Councilor Giannino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas.
Yes.
Yes, the Appointment Subcommittee has been accepted and appointments confirmed.
17,221.
Communication from the mayor requesting approval of a resolution for the park grant application to renovate Gibson Park.
Roll call.
Shall the City Council approve a resolution allowing the city to file with the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs a grant application for the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities Park Program relative to Gibson Park? Councilor Giannino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas.
Yes.
Yes.
17,222.
Communication from the mayor relative to an ordinance providing for a 6-month hiatus or moratorium relative to the granting of special permits for standing signs.
Anyone have any questions? This is just to extend the moratorium. All those in favor, order to a public hearing? Roll call.
Roll call to send this to a public hearing. Counselor Giannino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotondo is absent. Counselor Zambudo is recused, and Council President Haas.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance will be sent to public hearing.
All right, 17223.
Communication from Michael Kessman, project engineer, requesting approval of a disclosure form as required by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268A and Section 20B.
Anyone have any suggestions or corrections? Roll call vote? Or do you want to leave it on the table? Two people said they were...
Shall the City Council approve Michael Kessman's disclosure form? Councilor Giannino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotondo is absent. Counselor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas?
Yes.
Yes, the disclosure form has been approved.
On the motions, you want to take them in order? 17234.
Motion presented by Councilor Morabito and Councilor Patch that the City Council award Joey Covino with the citation of recognition for making it to the season finale of CBS's show Amazing Race.
Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion speaks for itself, but Joey Covino made it to the season finale of Amazing Race. He's a sergeant on our police force, and he made Revere proud. And I think he should get the proper accolades.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? On the motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? So voted.
Council Order 17-224, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor request our state delegation to sign on and support House Bill 3528, an act promoting the proper disposal of miniatures. This bill is a proposed amendment to the bottle deposit statute. Nips have become the new trend for consuming liquor, and empty bottles are thrown all over the city streets and sidewalks after consumption.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this speaks for itself. I mean, everywhere you go, you see nip bottles everywhere. So I think this motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Anyone else like Councilor Guanasso?
I think this is a good motion. I agree with Councilor McKenna. You certainly see throughout the city, nips bottles all over the place, and it's unsightly to begin with, but it's in very, very poor taste for those individuals that just discard this matter throughout our city and no regard for the welfare and the health of other people in the area. So I think this is a very nice motion, a good motion, and I look forward to supporting it.
So Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. It sounds like a motion that I can support. I hate to plead ignorant, but I don't know what the law requires. I don't know what it entails. I'd like to know a little more about it before I sign on to it. But I'm sure if my colleague from Ward 1 supports it, I'll be able to support it in the end. But I do need the information before I can vote on it. Thank you.
Any other councilor? There being none, roll call.
Roll call to approve the motion. Councilor Giannino?
Point of order.
Yes, sir, what's your point?
I believe Councilor Zambudo asked for some information regarding the particular motion at hand before he voted on it.
He also said if Councilor McKenna thinks enough of the issue.
Can I clarify as a point of information?
Right.
I was hoping this was going to go to committee so we could get the information and then we could all support it with the knowledge of what's in the bill. You know, what if the bill is that I'm going to tax my seniors $5 a week? I don't know what's in there. So I think that asking this to go to committee for a week would not be a lot to ask. I hope not.
To the bottom.
Whatever it is,
So,
whatever it takes.
Point of
McKenna.
information. So what it is, it's currently at the State House, and it's just adding nip bottles to the bottle bill. That's all it is. That's exactly what it is.
So are you saying that nip bottles will be 5 cents apiece? Is that what we're saying?
Yes,
You'll have to, so when you buy a nip, you'll pay a 5-cent service charge?
yes.
I probably could support that. Okay, thanks.
All right. Roll call.
Roll call to approve the motion. Counselor Giannino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes,
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotondo?
I got to think about this one, yes.
Yes. Counselor Zambuto?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas?
Yes.
Yes, the motion has been approved. Council Order 17-225, motion presented by Councilor Giannino, that the mayor request the DCR to maintain the beach by cleaning the seaweed. Residents who live on the beach cannot even open their windows due to the smell the seaweed emits.
Giannino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've received several calls on this issue. The residents that live in the beach area physically can't even open their windows because the smell is so bad, and the DCR is not cleaning it up. And unfortunately, if it was something as simple that our DPW could do, it would already be done. But we need to request the DCR to do it and go about it the right way. So I'm hoping that the mayor can get on this, even though it's a little late this year, but hopefully next year, our residents won't have to suffer through this again.
I think it's a good motion, Counselor. Anyone else like to speak on the issue? Counselor Morabito.
Councilor Giannino, I think DCR got word of your motion because I went down the beach earlier today and they were cleaning up the seaweed.
Anyone else? There being none, roll call. All those in favor, all those opposed, so voted.
Council Order 17-226, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky, that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to establish residential permit parking as follows. Waverly Ave from Centennial Ave to North Shore Road, westerly side, 9 to 5, and Walden Street from Shirley Ave to Beach Street, westerly side, from 9 to 5.
Thank you,
Counselor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaks for itself. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on the issue? There being none, all those in favor, all those opposed, so voted.
Late motions. Council Order 17-227, motion presented by Councilor Keefe, that the mayor request the police department to increase direct patrols in and around Harry Della Russo Stadium, specifically summer nights between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m., to ensure the park is cleared out after closing hours.
Counselor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a similar request I made last year, this time of year, obviously during the summer, there's a lot of activity happening down the Harry Della Russo Stadium. I want kids to go there and enjoy it. That's what the park is there for. But after a certain period of time, the neighbors shouldn't have to endure so much. So when the lights go out and when the park is closed, I think it's time for the police department to do a directed patrol in the area, making sure the park is cleared out and the neighbors don't have to listen to the loud music or the kids hanging out with the security lights, sometimes doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And we all know kids will do what they can, and I get that. But having those patrols and those times of nights, especially when there's large groups of kids out there playing, we want to make sure that they're safe and the neighbors are being treated with respect. So I just appreciate a little extra coverage during the summer hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else like to speak on the issue? Counselor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Officer Keefe, Councilor Keefe. What time does the park close?
Most nights the park closes at 9 or 10 p.m., depending on if they have scheduled events. Sometimes they have soccer leagues going there at night. But usually the latest it closes is 10 p.m. if there's a rented event or there's a permitted event there, and the lights will shut off. But I was there. I went by there actually Saturday night, and it was shut down at 9 p.m. So, and I did a little patrol around myself. My dog and I, we like to do that little walk. So we see it.
Okay. Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Keefe again. Yeah, I've been getting reports. Do they have, I know it's open all day, like you say, until like 9, 10 o'clock at night, but do they actually have staff that stay there during those hours?
I'm speaking just from what I see, and I do talk to the Recreation Department occasionally. When there are, and during the football season practice hours, there's usually an attendant there at night. When there is a rented event, or if a private organization comes and uses it for a soccer game, for one of the adult soccer leagues, there's typically an attendant there. I don't know the schedule. I'm pretty sure that, especially during the summer, there is someone there. But I don't know if there's days off where they don't have coverage. Obviously, that would probably be a separate thought, where I've even talked in the past when they have these larger events, that they should pay for either a detail or pay for an additional staff member to be down there to help patrol the park. Because, as you know, if there's a large soccer game going on, or there's a large football game going on, or just organized events in the field area, the basketball area and the tennis courts go largely uncovered. And sometimes it doesn't take much to have a group of kids from one area and a group of kids from another area, and something could happen, or the park just can get vandalized, whether it's with trash. And that's my next motion that you'll see after, but whether there's trash or they're using bikes on the field or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I don't have all the answers, but there's a little coverage, yes.
Yeah, because I've been getting information that some of those games do get kind of out of control, and there's never any police detail there, or which I strongly suggest they should look into that, because they do it for the basketball games and at the gym, and that's a beautiful stadium, and I'm getting reports that it's deteriorating a little bit, because nobody's really keeping an eye on it. It's just people going do whatever they want on the track, and they just do things they shouldn't do. So this is a good motion you're putting in, and I'm sure that the police department will cooperate. But again, they should look into more for the public safety during these games, because they can get out of control very easily. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guanasso?
Mr. President, we have a valuable asset there that we have to protect, and obviously we went to great pains to secure such a beautiful location, and it's incumbent upon us to put the necessary police detail there to make sure it works. The very, very least that we can do is have the sector car go by there every half hour or every hour. It's not a big thing to do. It's open, you could see it, and to see anybody congregating there after it's closed, they're not up to good. There's many other places they can go and congregate rather than inside the Harry Della Russo Stadium. And again, it's a valuable asset for our community. We're all proud of it, and we want to make sure we keep it that way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other councilors? There being none, Council Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. I commend Councilor Keefe on this motion. There's a high level of activity at all of our parks, but especially this park. We invested a lot of money in the field, in the playground, the courts, and I think it's a fair motion to have police patrol the area, but I would be an advocate to work with the police and have them patrol all the parks more frequently in the summer where there's a high level of activity. So I am in favor of your motion, Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rotondo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Woefully, I recite an issue that beckons to Lincoln School Park, in which we forgave close to $200,000 or $150,000, but a significant amount of money from the state, which was part of a safety grant. And I had asked, but was denied, the utilization of cameras at these parks for the very simple reason that we're speaking about today. Clearly, we need cameras in order to facilitate surveillance of these areas, in order to propagate police to a park when there's an event. However, at this point, we have no eyes on every park because we don't have the manpower to do it. The only way to affect that is to have surveillance. And surveillance is only as good as the cameras where they're put and the ability for someone to see them. But when you have not enough police to go to every park all the time, cameras are the happy medium. And there's a reason why we use them. So if there's a way that we can, again, I ask and I stress, to put cameras in these parks so that we can have better surveillance, I think that would be a good thing. Thank you.
Any other councilors? There being none, all those in favor, all those opposed, so voted.
Council Order 17-228, motion presented by Councilor Keefe that the mayor request the DPW to install trash receptacles at the Fernwood Avenue side of Harry Della Russo Stadium. Trash accumulates along the curb and into neighboring properties during the busy park season. Solar-powered compactors would be a preference.
Councilor Keefe?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to add the Park Ave side of this on the motion. Both the entrances to the park have a lot of traffic. There are no receptacles on the outsides of the park, and it's just asking for people to dump their trash in the street. Obviously, the neighbors, they care a lot about the property. I see them out there sweeping up, and I really appreciate that, but we should try and have a few receptacles. I did mention there's receptacles, big belly, solar-powered receptacles that you see in areas like Boston. They actually help compact the trash as it's being accumulated. So, and I think that to help justify or to help offset some of the costs, we could use advertisements on the side. Maybe a counselor or two would help support and spend a few dollars to help advertise on the sides of these compacts. It would be helpful. But it would be nice for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Anyone else? There being none, all those in favor, all those opposed, so voted.
Late communications, Council Orders 17-229, 230, 231, 232, 233, 237, and 238 are all appointments of drain layers.
Right. I'll assign them to Arthur Ganasso's Appointments Committee.
17-235, communication from the Director of Finance relative to a transfer from free cash and the overlay surplus account to supplement the FY18 budget.
Mr. President?
That'll be Councilor Rotondo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've asked regarding the issue of free cash. In fact, I had to file a Freedom of Information Act in order to get information regarding it, and I'm in that process still regarding free cash and the process thereof. And it states here, dear councilors, as you are aware of, the City of Revere had certified by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue free cash in the amount of $4,524,556 for the general fund. Now, what I'd like to know is why we have a discrepancy of previously counted transfer, and more importantly, why wasn't this given to us a year ago? Why wasn't the number for that FYI 2017 given to us? Why are we waiting now to find out that we had almost $5 million or $4.5 million in free cash?
I think by putting in public into John Powers' committee, we'll find out those answers.
Regardless,
answer your question.
I get that, but I'm just really surprised that no one here has any level of curiosity, has any level of concern, has any level of understanding of why the heck we have $4.5 million, or basically what amounts to close to several hundred dollars per taxpayer, that all of a sudden is popping up out of the blue, which is a good thing. I don't have no problem with it, but why the hide and seek?
Well, I don't know myself, and I don't think my colleagues here. That's why we want to put it in the
I get
committee.
that, and
And
I'm
they'll answer the questions at that proper time,
Thank you.
all right? That's going to go to Public Ways and Means Committee.
Council Order 17-236, communication from the Director of Finance relative to a transfer request from free cash to the Capital Improvement Stabilization account. This was amended.
Anyone want to speak about this? I'm going to put this in the same Ways and Means Committee.
Mr. President,
Yes, Counselor?
I'd like to see the ordinance as written, as I had asked prior. As I spoke to Brian, the mayor, excuse me, the issue was what components of this fund is going to take place. And I raised the question in view of what took place recently over on Taft Street, and if you give me a minute of latitude, I'd be grateful on that. First and foremost, I'm sure the accolades have already come from my colleagues regarding Councilor McKenna's, exemplary work in helping these families find homes and really circumnavigating the treacherous waters of emergency housing. Now, one of the things that we can do at a very limited level is help those in need in our community. We have a duty to help them, and considering that we're almost at, $180 million budget, thereabouts, we could put some money away to help them build perhaps or add to an RFP for the McKinley School or something for people who need emergency housing, and perhaps maybe a fund in the event that something like this happens. Many of these people, I would suspect, and perhaps Councilor McKenna can enunciate accordingly, is that providing first and last month's rent is something that we could do for a family that befalls a tragedy. And it's a very limited amount of money that would actually go a long way for a family that's hit with tragedy. And, $5,000 is clearly a lot of money, make no mistake about it, but $5,000 for a family who just lost everything, it means everything in the world to them. So I think we need to look within ourselves, look within this process. I'm sure the mayor would look at this, and there's noted merit with it, but I would like to know exactly what's in the format of this capital improvement fund. And as I had asked for it in the past and supported wholly currently, I'd like to add a component of that for people who fall underneath the guise of a tragedy, whether it be a tornado, whether it be a flood, whether it be something of this noted catastrophe, a fire. Thank you.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that's an excellent idea. However, the thing that I question is whether or not this is taxpayer money. If we could just go out there and arbitrarily give it to families who may have been impacted. Again, I think it's a good idea, but I would question the legality with regard to state law on this. So.
Councilor Rotondo?
If that's the case, then we could probably make an arrangement with a nonprofit like CAPIC, work with them on that and forego this process and donate a specific amount to CAPIC so that it could exercise that right for the people of Revere. There's definitely legalities of it, I do note that, but that's something that the lawyers can hash out, and if that need be.
Councilor McKenna?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Councilor Rotondo's idea is excellent. I feel that if we can't use the taxpayers' money, there are so many developments that are going in, we could probably get it through mitigation money. But it was, these people lost everything and they had nothing, and because of Sale Boston, they couldn't find shelter. So if we had to run into something like that again, this would be ideal. This would be an ideal situation for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Ways and Means Committee.
Council Order 17-239, communication from the mayor relative to the beautification of Butler Circle.
Mr. President?
Powers.
Yeah. There's a little history on that, as you know, about it went out to bid. There was a low bid of 30,000 plus, and the next bid was 70-some-odd thousand. The bid after that was 90,000. I myself had gotten an estimate from an architect, a landscape architect, who told me that it would cost probably in the area of $100,000. And as you know, this is a project that I have been interested in from day one. We've done every other circle in the city, and I think it's time we did this one. Well, to make a long story short, I know there's that $100,000 estimate. There's areas in there where we can cut. But we currently have a $50,000 donation from Beach House. Roy McDowell called me personally a couple of weeks ago and handed me a check payable to the city of Revere for $50,000. We have about $8,000 in an account that was earmarked for Butler Circle, and this would only add, this $15,000 would add to the fund and allow this to be awarded, the bid to be awarded, and the work to commence very shortly to beautify that circle. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. This will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Councilor Rotondo, you want to take up some of your motions?
I would be glad to.
Which ones do you want to take up?
I definitely want to take up 17-200, 17-201, and I'd like to take up 17-203 for the time being, unless you're going to allow me to take another one. That's up to you.
20, want to speak on 17-200?
Sure.
Unfinished business, Council Order 17-200, motion presented by Councilor Rotondo, that the Revere City Council request the mayor to provide the city council with the chain of command in his administration. Additionally, that the mayor provide the city council and the people of Revere what roles do Attorney Matt Buckley, Rueben Kantor, and Omar Bakuli play in the operation of the city of Revere. Moreover, what are their job descriptions and lines of authority? This is my second request.
Councilor Rotondo.
Thank you. Whether it be the DPW, the police department, fire department, or several other people that I won't speak of, they come to me and ask that very question. And their concern is noted, and I'm asking for an answer, and I haven't received one. I'm just looking for an answer. And if I don't get one, then I guess I'll have to deal with it a different way, and that won't be pleasant. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Anyone else? Councilor Guanasso.
Well, in the review of last week, or the meeting before with the mayor disclosed to us that Omar Bakuli will be leaving as of June 30, so that portion of that is moot.
Councilor Rotondo.
No, it isn't. The people still deserve the answer to that question. Just because he's not here doesn't mean that that question does not affect these people's reason to ask it. Thank you.
Anyone else want? Roll call.
Roll call on the motion. Councilor Giannino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna? Is absent. Councilor Morabito? Yes. Councilor Novoselsky? Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas?
Yes.
Yes, the motion has been approved.
Mr. President, can we suspend rules in order to take this up on reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail?
On reconsideration, all those in favor, all those opposed? So voted.
Council Order 17-201, motion presented by Councilor Rotondo, that the mayor provide the Revere City Council with the exact figure that we have paid Matt Buckley for any and all services to the city of Revere.
Councilor Rotondo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like the exact amount. I would like the exact number of hours, and I would like to know exactly how these hours were allocated into which particular case, and that's pretty specific.
Any other councilor? There being none, roll call.
Roll call on the motion. Councilor Giannino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky? Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotondo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Haas?
Yes.
Motion has been
Mr.
ordered.
President, can we suspend rules and take this up in order that
On immediate
reconsideration.
reconsideration, hope it does not prevail. All those in favor, all those opposed, so voted.
Council Order 17-203, motion presented by Councilor Rotondo, that the mayor or chief of police provide the Revere City Council with any and all personnel policy, corrective action policies, and directive for regulatory compliance with state and federal law.
Rotondo.
Thank you. In particular, I'd like for the corrective policies for the DPW, the city hall workers, the fire, the police, pretty much for the entire system. And I'd like to know if there's any other type of regulatory constraints or corrective actions or compliance issues that we need to take for state or federal law into consideration with these particular policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Anyone would like to speak? Counsel Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Rotondo. I just, my curiosity is getting the best of me. Is there something that is,
Yes.
to spark this? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. Again, it goes back to the lines of authority. When you have people barking at subordinates that are subordinate to the mayor and not those people, I have an issue with it. And I don't care if they're leaving or not. More importantly, when I have people from the departments that I have spoken for who have come to me personally and have spoken to me about these issues, who have a measure of dismay, I'd like to find out who the hell is in charge. And I want to know what the damn policies are. And if there isn't, I want to know why the hell these people are taking on the authority of a superior. That's a problem. And if you don't see it, not you personally, if you, meaning this council, our body, don't see that as a problem, then that's an issue.
Counsel Ganasso.
Well, Mr. President, this kind of conversation is worthy of it going to a subcommittee for review. I honestly
Point of order.
I honestly believe that it would require more attention than given at a council meeting, and you'd be able to get more input in reference to this. And I'm sure it will give Councilor Rotondo all the answers that he needs.
Mr.
But,
President, may I answer the question?
In further detail, would you, Councilor Rotondo, would you allow me to finish before you decide to come in again? I just think that this kind of motion is in the discussion that we have in a council chamber, in a regular council meeting, and just discuss what we're going to do. And I think you get greater detail out of it if it goes to subcommittee. That's all. It's not to waylay this. It's not to put it aside. It's just a matter of fact. Thank you, Mr. President.
Counsel Rotondo.
Well, first and foremost, my point wasn't to cut you off. I had thought you had finished and I was going to answer your question. But that said, there are certain ethical boundaries that certain people must adhere to when employment is in concern. But what I would also say is that, at this point, I'm asking for the policies. There is no need for any conversation. Either we have them or we don't. And that's as simple as it gets. So I can either do it through the body, or I can go through the arduous process of going through a Freedom of Information Act and making the keeper of records go through the process, that she's currently going through, which I apologize for immensely. But that's up to you guys. But one way or the other, I'm going to get the information. Thank you.
Counsel Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to agree with my colleague to my right here. I'm very uncomfortable when anybody from the administration is circumventing the department head that's appointed to control these departments. So that's, in my mind, unethical. It's out of the bounds of what should be in these policies. I haven't seen them. I don't know what they are. But I completely agree with this motion. I don't think we need to debate it anywhere. I think we simply ask for these things so we can see how this is taking place and if it's circumventing standing policies. And if it isn't, we better be changing policies. Thank you.
Counsel Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first time I've heard of this. The motion probably has merit, but I've always been under the impression, and as you know, when I worked in your office, Mr. Mayor, when you were mayor, that whoever is the administrative assistant or a similar capacity is always thought to be operating at the direction of the mayor, and where the mayor can't be calling every department every 5 minutes, that he passes it on to the administrative assistant, and it's his job to make sure that his wishes are carried out in a responsible manner. So that's my opinion on this, and take it for what it is.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I agree with Councilor Guanasso. I think this is going to be turning into a witch hunt, and I believe that the things that come out in the alleged allegations that are being brought forth, that it's going to be turned into a name calling, and it's going to be called into a lot of allegations. And I think it should go into a committee. And I think and it gets to a point where they start doing the name calling and mentioning names. I think we ought to go into executive session into that, because I think there's a very delicate situation, and we have to watch our step on it. So I would agree with Councilor Guanasso that we put it into the Appointments Committee. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. President. I would say that those people...
Mr. President, point of order. I believe that the maker of the motion speaks last after all the other councilors speak instead of interrupting.
I think you're well done.
Point of order has nothing to do with my ability to speak on the subject. It has to do with the
You
order.
brought it up, Councilor. Point of order again.
It has to do with the order in which
You brought
people
the
are
point of
speaking.
order up.
And when I'm asking for policies relevant to city operations to include the school department, I would suspect certain people would have to recuse themselves underneath the ethical laws. But then again, what do I know?
Point of personal privilege.
Councilor,
Mr. President, there's several of us that have family members in the school department, and I don't like threats, and I take that as a threat. And I think someone ought to watch his mouth and watch what he's saying before he starts threatening people about working on motions.
thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Just, Mr. President, if I can have a point of clarity, can someone explain to me how asking for policies and procedures can be a witch hunt and be picking on somebody? This is asking for policy.
It's the verbal
I don't
opinions that are
understand
made.
why anybody's offended by this. This is simply asking for something that either exists or it doesn't. If it doesn't exist, we don't get it. But if it exists, there's nobody bashing anybody. There won't be anybody to bash. Just produce what he's asking for God's sakes. Let's not get crazy here. This is simple, it's clear, it's simply asking for the policies and procedures. I don't see any reason for debate about that.
Point
Councilor
of
Patch.
information for the maker of the motion.
Councilor
Through you.
Patch.
Okay.
As he moved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem with getting the information that he's requesting, but I do want to mention that there are some legal issues here. If what he's going after is something that's under investigation or what have you, we cannot discuss that in open council anyways. So I'd be very careful with this motion.
Point
Thank you,
of
Mr.
personal
President.
privilege.
Councilor.
I can guarantee that this is not after anybody who is in any investigation that I know of or don't know of. I can tell you that this has no bearing on any investigation that may or may not be taking place currently or in the future. What I can tell you is that I have asked for this in the past underneath the Ambrosino administration and didn't have the same issue that I'm going through right now. Thank you.
Mr. President, I move be referred to Appointments Committee.
Mr. President.
Appointments.
Mr. President,
He hasn't
the
spoken yet.
maker of the motion can answer this question. You're not asking for personnel files, correct?
No.
You're not looking for disciplinary action. You're just looking for policy and procedure, correct?
Dear Watson, I think you got it. That's
Okay.
exactly what it is.
I see
But,
it
you know,
clear as
hey, I get
clean
it.
water, you know?
Whatever people want to make of it, it's as simple as
I
it
can
states.
understand
I
my
just want the
colleagues
policies.
wanting to
And
have
if the
further
policies don't
discussion,
exist,
but-
then listen, all I want is the policies. If the policies don't exist, then even more need that we have to put them in place with the HR department that we're putting forward. But you know what? God forbid somebody wants to participate in that process because he's dealt with the issues of compliance for the past 21 years of his life as a nurse, as a charge nurse, as a nurse manager. But, you know, let some people carry on.
As you know,
With that
the
said,
mayor's
why
department.
not put it in committee and just have the mayor present?
Mr. President, I'm going to withdraw the
Wait,
motion,
Why don't we
and I'm
ask,
just going to
why don't we
forward it.
ask for some
Councilor
written,
speak.
why don't we ask for written yeah, why don't we just put it
Motion
in
to
committee?
withdraw.
That's it.
You want to withdraw the issue?
Yep, I'm going to withdraw it, and I'm going to send in the Freedom of Information Act to
Motion
get
on
it
the
done
table.
through
That's all right.
the keeper
Okay.
of records.
President, motion on the
The
table.
motion's withdrawn. Nope, he withdrew it. There's no vote on it. You? Right. Yeah, he's get one more if he wants to speak.
Actually, I believe by council orders, I am only limited to 3. I will withdraw 204 and 207 and deal with it in another manner. 17-210. Yeah.
Council Order 17-210, motion presented by Councilor Rotondo, that the mayor update the city council on any reports related to core sampling at the DPW, as well as accreditation issues at Revere High School. Further, as to what issues need to be resolved to maintain accreditation.
George, why don't we just invite the superintendent up? I mean, really, we're talking about it. We don't know the issues. Let them tell us what the issues are. Counselor.
Motion speaks for itself. I have no problem with that. Thank you.
Mr. President, I know it's technical, but, you know, it should be 2 separate motions because you're dealing with Public Works at the city yard, and you're also dealing with Revere High School and accreditation. So I would ask, you know, the DPW corings are still in process. A report will be coming out in about 4 weeks of what's going on down there, and, you know, I don't think we ought to, I don't think we're going to get any words of wisdom from anybody in the administration of what the reports show. So, you know, I think that's part of it, that, you know, if we want to put that part in Public Works and wait for the report to come out, fine and dandy. As far as the high school accreditation, ask the superintendent to come up and speak in committee of the whole.
Point of reference. I'm told the high school isn't due for accreditation until 2023. I just was curious, I was curious as well. Obviously, we have a vested interest in making sure that the high school is ready to go and can serve the need of the city. And I know that we are working on planning process for a new high school. But
Exactly.
I had asked the question because it sparked my curiosity, Mr. Councilor Rotondo. That's what I was given.
Councilor Rotondo.
Sure. Several of those concerns have been brought to my attention regarding the DPW. There is actually a report that exists. I do have it for the condition of the facility. I want to know what the core sample said for the chapter, for the issue of ground contamination. And my understanding is that does currently exist. I don't know why this hasn't been presented to us at this point. So I do know it is in existence, and that the safety officer, I'm sure, may have something to say about that as well. As far as the accreditation, that goes to conversations that I've had with parents, that there was some concern regarding the science lab and other things, so I would just like to get that clarified.
The superintendent already mentioned the science lab will not pass. I mean, we're just rehashing the same thing.
Well, I mean, I understand that you don't have those concerns that other parents have, that's
Well,
fine. But,
speak for yourself, Counselor.
well,
I'm more involved with the kids than you are.
Well,
And
okay.
the teachers.
That's fine. And that's one's opinion, but that's fine too. It has to do with what was asked of me, and I'm actually doing it. So at the end of the day, this is just a request.
Counselor Novoselsky.
Mr. President, we all know the condition of City Yard, and we are all concerned about the condition of City Yard. And we know that there is samples and for preparation of potential new building and what they want to do down there. And I would like to see this portion of it go into Public Works Committee, so we, and hopefully by the time we get our next meeting going, that we'll have all the answers, and we'll be able to read those core samplings and get the exact items of what's happening down there. So that's what I would ask at this point, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'm perfectly fine with both.
Okay, on the motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? You want to put in committee?
It's up to you guys.
Point of order, if
Point of order.
the council's going to discuss something, they should speak into the mic.
The question was, some of the council says should go into committee instead of just voting on it at this point in time. What's
Chairman,
the
I
motion
move
to
that it be-
separate-
I'd be moved.
Mr. President,
I
motion-
move that it be separated and go into
Okay.
Public Works,
Yep.
do an A and a B, go into Public Works, and whatever other committee you want to put in for the high school.
Okay, on the motion to separate the issues, all those in favor, all those opposed, we'll put the, we'll put them in the two subcommittee reports. Okay, Ways and Means, and Ways and Means. All right, any other questions?
And Mr. President, with deference to the superintendent, a simple letter stating the...
Well, I'm surprised you didn't send her a letter
Well,
instead of bringing it to the council.
well, because this is my body of authority. I could obviously send her that letter and have gotten it through an email, but the ability to disseminate it through the masses is a lot different on TV here presently, with thousands of people possibly watching versus several people getting that email. Now, if you don't see the benefit in that, so be it, I do. Thank you.
Well, it seems like everything comes before the council, and half of the issues are withdrawn.
Just because you've put in less than 20 motions in the past 4 years doesn't mean that I'm not going to do my job, sir.
It doesn't matter, Counselor. I don't put council motions in as president. Thank you.
Nor
Any
as a
further
counselor.
discussion? We'll retire into when? June 26th is the next meeting. Thank you.